Gabriel Gonzalez for Cage Side Press, and I am here with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert who just picked up her first match at One Championship at 1X, Danielle Kelly. Danielle, first off, are you back home? Have you made it back all the way from Singapore in that amazing show?
Yes, I came home Sunday night. So I basically left Sunday at Singapore and I went back in time, came back home Sunday because Singapore time is like 12 hours ahead.
So the important questions, I am a little disappointed. I'm not seeing the infamous game room with Snorlax and Baby Yoda. Where is everybody? Where are all your friends?
All my friends are in my room. I'm in my living room right now with my other friends here, keeping me company.
I think
Snorlax and Baby Yoda are tired.
we don't need to talk about MMA. Let's talk about the important things. What is Danielle Kelly's starter? Do you pick the fire Pokemon? Do you pick water, grass? What do you tend to go with?
I feel like people nowadays think it's cool to pick the fire Pokemon because I was a Charizard fan, so I'm gonna have to say I'm probably the water Pokemon because I have a Squirtle.
Okay, okay. I'm with it. I'm with it.
But also Snorlax is like my favorite because we relate a lot.
Because for the eating or the sleeping?
Both.
Very fair, very fair. Well, you know what? Look, Danielle, you've been part of so many big matches, Quintet, Fury Pro, but I have to imagine, 1X in Singapore, in the arena, just the scope of that card had to have been on another level. Now, almost a week removed from it, just what kind of stands out the most in your mind when you reflect on everything?
I would say like the people and just in front of thousands and thousands, like we are in like a really big stadium with all the lights on me. The stage I can't put into words like how spectacular it was. And just it was an overall great feeling to be able to perform under such a big global uh stage, just like one championship and just putting it all out there.
I'm assuming you watched the match back since then. I heard your post-fight interview. You said you expected Mei to engage with you a little bit more, and obviously the clock started winding down. Just having seen it now, just is there something you feel like, had I known this going in, maybe I would have done this a little sooner the way it was playing out? What are your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, for sure. I've had those thoughts just right when I got back because so I flew back in Sunday night and I went back to train the next day. I think I spent too much time trying to wrestle her in the cage, and I didn't realize it wasn't an MMA fight; it's just a grappling match. So I think like once the ref reset us the second time, is when I started to like just play my game, and I had to bait her to like give me something because the whole time she was just staying in so tight and not giving me anything. She had really good defense, so I wasn't surprised about like her strength because I knew she was gonna have like a little bit of a strength advantage against me. But I mean, it didn't mean anything at the end because I felt like my technique just overpowered her over time. And I think just as time went on, the time was like in her favor, so it ended up being a draw. But I pushed the pace of the match, and yeah, I mean, I don't really have any bad thoughts or any regrets.
I know you spoke about the experience of actually competing with a cage, like with walls, as opposed to a large open mat that you have at, the jiu-jitsu competitions. What did you gain most out of it? What was just the learning experience that you now take going forward?
Definitely. When jiu-jitsu match, I've explained that you don't really have anything or anyone to stop you from like they'll keep you like if you get pushed out of balance that there's still like a mat space, you still just keep doing it. You don't have like a wall barrier to like stop you from trying to attack that person. And I think like for because May is a veteran at the MMA world and in the cage, she knew like how to use it. And it prevents me to like move my hips and try to get a submission or make space. So that's what I got out of it. So I've been working hard on just my wall stuff. I think that was like one of my weaknesses, but it's just in due time. I just have to work hard on it and get better next time.
So obviously when you sign with one, start with submission matches, but the expectation is eventually to move to mixed martial arts. And I know you've been asked at length about this. I watched a lot of your interviews. I'm curious though, Danielle. I mean, when people approach you the first time about MMA, and I'm assuming it comes up a lot just in the jiu-jitsu circles, there's so much crossover, but when they brought it up to you, is that something that you were like, okay, this is the natural progression? Or were you just like, I'm good just doing the grappling. I don't need all the other stuff to it.
I definitely had those thoughts, but when I started jujitsu day one, it was something I wanted to do so bad. And unfortunately, like I had a few people in my life at the time that kind of like swayed me away from doing fighting. Because at the time, women women's MMA or at my age, no girl was getting paid to go out and fight. Everything was the media wasn't as good as it was when the men were fighting the UFC. So I was always kind of like they always was kind of like pushed away from it from my coaches. But then like as the years went by and as MMA started to get popular, it was something I always wanted to do, and I really want my first fight so bad. So I'm not gonna rush it. So again, like I want my coaches, like people who are helping me prepare, I want them to be there in my corner, so I can feel the most comfortable, make it feel like I'm at a training session at home. So that's my goal. It's definitely for sure. Like I want my first fight and it would be under one championship. But I'm also not against just doing grappling matches too, because that's my first love. But eventually I would love to have my first or second fight. And then I think having my first fight will definitely motivate me more to just want to go against the big names.
So obviously women's MMA has been around a minute. As you said, it is, continually growing, but do you remember, what particular time that it kind of had that explosion that you felt like, no, really, like now this is a more, I can make more income out of it. It's a bigger, advantage for me business wise to get into MMA that it wasn't at a particular time.
I would say so. I was still very young, so I started like around 2007, and I think that's when I saw my first like women's fight, and it was Gina Carano, and she's still my idol, even though she doesn't fight anymore. But I feel like she was kind of like the stepping stone of women's MMA, and then it was Ronda Rousey. Um, again, like even with Gina Carano, she was just one girl playing. She was the face of women's MMA. She was probably getting more than the other girls, so it was like she was there, like it was there. Women's MMA was like mentioned, but it wasn't like there. Um, but then I think once Ronda Rousey came in, she was beating everybody, and then a big MMA promotion decided to like put her in. I think that's what made women's MMA like start climbing up, and then women's weight classes were added. People had eyes for it, and not like to say the least. Women's MMA is probably one of the most exciting fights that they put out there. So especially like divisions like 115 and 125. I think like over the years, I think that's when it started. I think after Ronda Rousey is when it started to like have more income for women's MMA, because back then no one really cared about it.
I'd like to ask because I think that for people who are starting to follow you, and especially more now, you are very smart about the branding. I was going through your social media. By the way, your caption game, you are on it. I think this is criminally underrated. I saw, you obviously post a lot of the workout stuff, but you were like, felt cute, might armbar you later. I got a kick out of that one. You know what? Are there some male or female, athletes out there, not just MMA, but certainly if there are, definitely shout them out that, you just like their approach to blending both the fighting and then maybe building themselves as a brand, in business or on the mic, etc.
That's actually a really good question. I mean, like how I know like fight MMA fighting isn't something like you should do that you can do like forever, because our bodies have like um like a timeline. But I like seeing like the smart fighters. Like I like seeing how like Eddie Alvarez and James Krause, they fight, but they still use you know, they're doing other things outside the fighting world. They're doing business like real estate. And it's something I wanted to get into. And, just seeing that when it just kind of inspires me, because, they're focusing on fighting and coaching while they're still doing other stuff outside of fighting. Um, that's probably like for men wise, but for girls, I would say like, I really like how Joanna, Valentina carry themselves. Um, very classy. Valentina still like puts in the work and she's still posting her brand and everything. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's your name. So I like how she carries herself. So I would say like she's probably my number one. And Michelle Watterson, she's really pretty and she's still like she's a mom and she still brands herself and still focused on fighting. So I would say like all those fives have really inspired me from outside of fighting.
For sure, I definitely get that. Two more questions just to round this one out. I think going in, we've had so many, specialists, jujitsu and otherwise get into MMA. When people want to throw comparisons at you, she's going to be like Mackenzie Dern. She's going to be like this, Buchecho in one championship, this guy, that girl. I mean, you're obviously your own person, but I mean, when they want to throw all that at you, media and fans, just how do you react to it? Like, what goes through your mind when you hear all that?
At this point, I kind of realize I should just take those things with a grain of salt. People, there's always gonna be people even who don't train at all, or they just watch from sitting on their couches. They're always gonna assume something. They're always gonna make a comment about things, whether it's good or not. But I'm my own person, and if they're comparing me to like Mackenzie Dern, I take that as a compliment because she's phenomenal. Um, but I mean, it's MMA fighting. I feel like make fights, and you just don't really have you just don't really know. You can't just assume like what the fighter is going to do just because of their background. Um, but yeah, there's been successful grapplers who became champions, in their own organization, and a great example actually, like this past weekend, I competed under Angela Lee and Stamp. They were in main event. Stamp is a phenomenal striker. She just phenomenal. Like I don't have any words to like really describe her technique, but she knows how to strike. But then you have Angela Lee. She was the underdog, and she just pummeled this girl in the second round. And the first round was almost shaky because Stamp had her like a really good shot. But Angela Lee is a grappler wrestler, and she submitted Stamp Lee. So I mean, or Stamp Paratech, excuse me. It just gives so much motivation to champion. Like you can't. It's just with the comparisons, I kind of just take it with a grain of salt, just because you just never know. But I take it as a compliment too, So it works out.
For sure, I definitely get what you're saying. My final question, Danielle. One championship obviously allows for a lot of creativity, getting to the cage and getting back out. It's like a whole parade. As you continue in your career, have you thought of a couple ideas with how you want to walk out there and everything else?
I thought about that too because it was my first time. That was like my first like huge. That was just my first time walking like a long stage like that to the cage where like a ref or I had the corner people or cut man look at my face, feel my hands, my face. Like I felt like I was going to a real fight. But I think like next time I definitely want to put in more personality just because like I'm more than just all serious all the time. So, I want to make it fun because that's what it's supposed to be. It should be fun. It should be a great experience. And it's kind of like Christmas. I should treat it like Christmas. Like I'm just happy to be there.
Well, Danielle, I certainly look forward to it. Once again, congratulations. It was a fun match. I'm sorry it didn't go your way. Clearly, you were taking that initiative in it, and it was just one of those cases with the clock. But I speak for a lot of people. We're looking
It was a
forward to the
draw,
next
but
match.
majority I think would agree that I won.
Oh no, hey, I'm with you there. I just know it's like, well, they call it a draw because
I
it's
mean,
submission.
hopefully, like if a fighter gets a warning, stallation warning, then the other person's winning. So that's just how, yeah.
Eh, Completely respect that. Completely get where you're coming from. Danielle, thank you for the time. Once again, looking forward to the next one, and you have a great rest of your afternoon. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You too.